Wow! A review where I'm not talking about a goddamn NES game! How novel! Yes, finally I could talk about something on a console that isn't the NES. Metroid 2 for the Game Boy, released in 1991. Yup, time to bust out that good old Super Game Boy for this game. I did leave the border in for this footage. Some Game Boy games have support for the custom one, but this one was released too early, so it doesn't have it. I was debating whether or not to crop it out. I decided to leave it in, but let me know in the comments how I should go about that. With all that being said, let's dig into Metroid 2. Now, Metroid 2 opens up with just the title screen. You don't even get a poorly translated screen of text like the first game. What a ripoff. Just the title screen and you get creepy ambience. Now, the ambience does turn into a hopeful melody near the end, but it's really kind of jarring to boot the game up and just, like, nothing. It's just this, it's just ambience. Especially in, like, a dark room. It's just the game on the screen. Anyways, the story is kind of simple. After the events of the first game, Samus is sent to the planet SR-30... Oh my god, that is an awful name to say. After the events of the first game, Samus is sent to the planet SR-388, home of the Metroids, with their task being to kill all the Metroids. The Metroids are considered a threat to galactic civilization, so the Federation contracts Samus with exterminating every single one. I don't know if causing an extinction is a wise idea for a developing ecosystem, but it is a good plot and a nice change of pace from the original Metroid. Your controls are roughly the same. It's still A to jump and B to shoot, but you can crouch by pressing down, and you can shoot downward in midair. Uniquely, you also start well equipped with 30 missiles in the Morph Ball. Why they didn't strap her with this stuff in the first game is beyond me. At least you start with 99 health this time around. But there still isn't a map feature. This is the Game Boy's monochrome display. It's even more easy to get lost. Now they do differentiate the tiles a bit between area, but it's really hard to tell. I don't think it's enough. You can't get that lost though. The game blocks progression with lava, or acid. I don't really know what it's supposed to be. But you can't progress into the next area until you kill all the Metroids in the area you're in. The objective's pretty clear. Wander around till you find the Metroids and kill them. And you know when you find a Metroid because the game jump scares you every time you encounter one. I like this basic loop of gameplay. While the Metroid battles are relatively the same thing every time, the game changes the layout in ways so each battle stays engaging. There are 4 forms you'll encounter. Alpha Metroids are the first ones you'll encounter, and they're pretty easy. You'll next encounter the Gamma Metroids. Midway through the game, they're larger and they're a little bit more difficult. They'll deflect missiles, and the areas you fight them in are more confining. Now later on there are Zeta and Omega Metroids, and you can't tell me this isn't just like a Xenomorph. Come on, guys! Anyways, they're huge bullet sponges unless you attack them in their weak spot, which is of course the back. The game is paced in a way where every new form is introduced in a fair way as you progress through the areas. The Metroids get stronger as you do. I never felt there was a point where I was vastly unequipped to deal with Metroids. And even then, the game is pretty helpful and gives you energy and missile recharge stations at certain points. And you can also save the game! That was missing from the first game. And speaking of being equipped, let's talk about the items. Most of the ones from the first game return. There's bombs, there's ice and wave beams, there's screw attack, and you can still find missile and E-tanks. The Varia suit gets its iconic shoulder pads in this game. They had to make it different since, you know, the Game Boy only has 4 colors. And it never went back. It's still got those massive shoulder pads to this day, which is good, because that kicks ass. New items are also really interesting. First one you get is a spider ball, lets you climb up the walls in Morph Ball form. Now, it's interesting on paper, but you're pretty much just defenseless in spider mode. And if you get hit, like on the ceiling, you're going to be sent tumbling all the way back down. Also, you move really slow. The spring ball is another item you can get. You have to defeat a boss to obtain it, the only other boss in the game, and it's pretty unique. You can only harm it with the bombs. The spring ball allows you to jump in Morph Ball form, that's greatly appreciated. Using the spring ball in tandem with the spider ball can allow for some really cool strategies. There's also several new beams in this game. There's Spazer, which shoots 3 beams at once, and Plasma, which shoots 1 very powerful beam, which pierces through enemies. And you can still only have 1 equipped at a time. The last item introduced in this game is the Space Jump, which allows you to jump in midair. I don't really think there's a bad item. Every item makes sense. I found myself using all of them throughout the game. They all add to Samus' toolset in unique ways. The music is... well, I mean, there is no music. Metroid 2's soundtrack consists mostly of ambient tracks, which might sound lame, but I'd say it enhances the atmosphere wonderfully. Everything is quiet. All you're gonna hear is these like little dripping sounds, or stuff like that. Until you find a Metroid and then the music is just blaring through the speakers. I'm not gonna act like I didn't get startled a few times. Also, that song that plays when you first arrive on SR388, it's a pumpin' tune, it really gets you in the mood to kill those Metroids. Still, I mean, it's hard to say the soundtrack is memorable. No, I have been positive so far. It's time to talk about some of the issues I have with this game. The controls are really floaty, which, I mean, it makes sense because it's on a Game Boy, but I've found myself getting thrown into spikes because I just couldn't predict my jump arc. Sometimes I also found myself incredibly low on energy. And while I did say there were energy stations, they're spread out in a way where sometimes you're just not going to have one when you need it. Also, yeah, there is no map, you can't stack beams. Something I hated about the space jump was that it sometimes just didn't let you jump again. It felt really random, and it was incredibly annoying. There's also barely any story, I know I said that already, but I don't think it would be that hard to put something like Metroid 1 did on the title screen. One thing I liked about this game, I really like about this game, is the last part. When there's only one Metroid left, you're just gonna cruise along, you climb in the wall, and then you spot an egg above you. And suddenly there's just more Metroids, and the music is just building a crap ton of tension. The whole section it's really impressive for a Game Boy game that they were able to do that. And yeah, here are the classic Metroids, of course. And being considerate, they give you back the Ice Beam. And of course, the final boss is the Metroid Queen, which is easily the best boss in the game. It's a massive Metroid that crawls out from a hole, and the way to defeat this boss is really creative as well. And there are 2 ways to do it. Obviously, you can just shoot a bunch of missiles at her, but, you might not have collected a bunch of missiles. Or you can bomb her from the inside. If you shoot her mouth when it's open, she'll be stunned, and you can just crawl inside with the morph ball and lay a bomb in her stomach. It deals a ton of damage. That's the kind of creative design I expect from Metroid games. You're not just going to be pumping missiles into a boss. It's usually creative, you have to figure out how they want you to defeat it. And I'd say that started here. After killing the Queen, you of course come face to face with the egg, and how it outhatches a baby Metroid. It follows you all the way back to your ship. This is the one piece of storytelling that's actually in the game, and it leaves a cliffhanger. What happens to the baby Metroid? I'm sure we'll find out very soon. But that was Metroid 2. The game is a major improvement on the first in a lot of ways. I mean, there's a save feature, aiming down in mid-air. Those are things that should have been included from the start. However, it still lacks a map, and this is one of those games where you kinda need it. Still, I think it's worth coming back to. I'll give this game a 6 out of 10. Now, I know I gave Metroid 1 also a 6 out of 10, but this 6 out of 10 is higher than the other one. However, comparing Metroid 2 to other things I've given a 7 out of 10, I don't think it's nearly on the same level. If I wanted to complicate things a bit, I'll say Metroid 1 is 6.3-ish, and then this game's a 6.6. I don't know, it's 6 out of 10, that's the score. And I thank you for watching to the end. I apologize for the delay, I've had this footage for a month, but I've been doing other stuff. Sorry. But hey, it's been almost a year since my Ninja Gaiden review. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but, maybe it's time for a little retrospective. Well, I haven't done as many games as I would hope. It's been only 8 in a year, but hey, it's not so bad. I completed Ninja Gaiden and DuckTales. It's not so bad. I didn't make those lower tiers because, of course, there isn't anything in those tiers, and I still agree with a lot of these rankings. I hope for another great year of reviews, and I hopefully can do more of them. That being said, let's talk about the future. I'm still working on that 10 SNES games list that I mentioned last time. I've gotten footage for half of the games, but then I kinda distracted myself because I went and got a Wii. Now this is pretty good news for the future. I can play Wii games, GameCube games, and I can capture Genesis, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and some N64 games. My channel needs the vibe of a crusty AV output. You don't understand. I need it. So I'm interested in that. As for the Zelda reviews, I'm probably gonna hold off. I still haven't found the time to start reviewing those games, and I don't want something to be nagging at the back of my mind. Lord knows I already have one of those. Still gotta play Final Fantasy II. Also, I kinda wanna wait until I can get a real N64 to play Ocarina of Time. It just wouldn't feel right to me otherwise. I don't know where I'm gonna get the money for that, but I'll be able. We'll see what I decide on doing instead of Zelda. Probably like Sonic or something. I'm open to suggestions. With that being said, the next game in the Metroid series is Super Metroid, and I'm looking forward to that. I love that game. So, this has been John. Take care and see ya.